Let's go ahead and talk about the sets and armor types that I end up choosing for this build. I went with 3 heavy pieces, 3 light pieces, and 1 medium piece. So the reason why I did that is you're essentially negating the penalties of one armor type with the bonuses of another. For the helmet, I end up going with heavy Shacklebreaker with a tri-stat glyph and Impen as the trait. Every single piece is going to have Impen besides the chest piece. The chest piece is going to be reinforced because it applies more armor. It's the only piece that will give you the most armor, and that's why I made that decision. It is also going to have a tri-stat glyph, like every single pieces of gear. This one for the waist, I end up going with a light in Impen with a tri-stat glyph, and this one is going to be critical Reposte. For boosts is also going to be critical Reposte in medium armor, and that one is also going to have Impen with a tri-stat glyph. For the pants, I end up going in heavy with an Impen and tri-stat glyph for critical Reposte as well. For the gloves is going to be as well critical Reposte. You're only going to have 4 pieces in total on your set, and this one is going to be in light with a tri-stat and an Impen. And for the shoulders, I ended up going with a light shoulder in Shacklebreaker with Impen and tri-stat as well. For the jewelry, I ended up going with endurance, and I put all of them with protective and all of them with reduced spell cost and chance. So it basically reduces your Magicka cost of spells. For the actual weapons, I ended up going with Shacklebreaker, Resto Staff as my main bar one, with an Infused enchant, and then just a Magicka Restore glyph. And then for the back bar, I ended up going with a Sword and Board Shacklebreaker on both. One of them has defending with a disease damage glyph, and it doesn't really matter what glyph you really put on there. I prefer disease because it lowered chances of people to heal, so that's always nice. And then for the shield itself, I ended up going with a tri-stat glyph with Impen as well. I ended up picking Breton for my class because it's very good for sustain for a healer in Cyrodill. As for the character stats, I ended up going with 64 points into Magicka. I went with the Steed Mundus, gives you extra speed and health recovery. And I also used the Bewitched Sugar Skull. For the skill for my main bar, I ended up going is, my first one is Breath of Life, which is a heal. The second one is Efficient Purge, which means it'll cleanse negative effects off of you without having to rely on somebody to synergize it, kind of like the extended ritual is. So technically I have 2 purges on my bar, but one is more as in oh no moment, and the other one is there's a purge down. If you need it, you can use it. For my third skill, I'm using Repentance. So if you're never in a situation where you're out of stamina or you need to heal your group real quick and there's a lot of dead bodies around you and you need to replenish yourself or that fast heal, this is the skill that you want to use in the middle of combat. And then the other one is Rapid Regeneration, which I actually really enjoy because it's like it just keeps that extra hot going on somebody. So it gives them like health over time. So it's really nice. For the ultimate itself, I alternate between like 3 different ones. Solar Prison is depending on what group I'm playing with. There's also Barrier underneath Support, which is technically really good too. I like using that one as well. And the other one I would probably use, which is more like a little like selfish heal, but it's more like if you need health really quickly, Champions Light's Champion is actually pretty good as well. That would be the one. As for my back bar, this is what I use. I use Reflected Light. I like adding that extra dot on somebody or a Nightblade once we're in the field. For the second one, I'm using Luminous Shards. This is more for sustain for my DPS when I'm running with them. So if I can tell they're struggling and they're having resource problems, I usually throw a lot of shards down so they can regen. The other one is more of a get out of a quick situation, just stuck in a bombard. Just use Race of Against Time. It's going to help you. The fourth one I use is the Living Dark. That one I'm a very big fan of. It protects me when I'm getting focused. What I technically do is put my rune down, which is this skill right here, Channeled Focus. I put my rune down, Living Dark, and then I'm pretty much just tough myself off with heals, and I can stay alive pretty long. And if there's a situation where there's a lot more than like 2 or 3 people on me and I need to kind of get out real quick, I will always use Spell Wall, especially during this meta. It is super good. This will keep you alive 100% of the time. CP, this is the fun part. Let's go ahead and start with fitness. So for fitness, what I did, I ended up going with rejuvenation. I put 50 points into that. Then I did ironclad. I put 50 points into that. And then I ended up going down here where it says sprinter. I only put 10 points into this. Then I went to hasty. I got 32 points. And then I started going over here, go to hero's vigor, put max points into that, which is 40. And then I went and got strategist reserve, which is pretty good, which is in another 50 points. And then I would go here where it says tireless guardian, for 40 points. And then I went down here, fortification for 45 points. And here you don't technically have to connect these. You can start straight from here where it says tumbling. I would go tumbling, full points, defiance, full points, and then I would go and get the juggernaut with 4 points. And then if you have extra CP to slot it, you can pretty much finish it off and get all of boundless vitality. And then go into this one where you go mystic tendency, and then once you're finished that one, you want to start going back up. But I kind of ran out of CP, so I'm kind of just doing the climb right now, and eventually I'll fill everything up. But that's what I did for my red CP. So let's go ahead and move to blue. For the blue tree, I ended up going 40 points into Eldritch Insight first, and then I ended up going into Starving Beth in here. I got 40 points into Hardy, 40 points into Recovery, and then 40 points into Elemental Aegis. These are very important in PvP. I highly recommend getting these. Sewn out. And then once that was done, I ended up going and getting duelist rebuffs into 50 points into that one. And then I went up here where it says extended might, and I did 10 points into piercing, 40 points into flawless ritual, which is also really good. Let's go back up here. I ended up doing 40 points into bless, 50 points into smoothing tide, 50 points into swift renewal, and then I went back here and then I did precision. I did 40 points to precision, 50 points into finding finesse, and then I ended up starting to put points into foresight. And that's pretty much what I did for my blue tree. The green tree is not very PvP oriented, it's more crafting, but there's still like 3 really good points that you can get out of this tree. So what I did technically is I put the basic points for the beginning. I did Glidered Fingers 10, Fortune Favor 10, 15 on this one. And then I went up here and I went to Steadfast Enchantment and I did the basic 10. And then these are the ones that you want to get, which is Liquid Efficiency, which is really, really nice because whenever you use a potion or a poison, you have a 10% chance of not consuming it. And if you know anything about PvP, you use a lot of potions. So if you can save an extra one, that's good. So I got this one, and I also got Rationer, which it just increases like the food that you get. After that, I actually ended up putting 50 points into Break Fall, which is really nice in PvP because let's say that you're running from a Zerg or something like that, and you jump off of a cliff. Well, if you can take like barely any fall damage, especially if they're shooting you all those like Magicka ability skills or their projectiles, this will actually help you survive a little bit instead of just dying right away. The other stuff that I actually went for is this one is more crafting. So I went Treasure Hunter, Master Gatherer, but the one I was trying to aim for was Gifted Rider. I only put 10%. I kind of waited till the end because I still do quite amount of crafting on this character. But if you wanted to, you could max this out just to have that extra run speed because Cyrodill is so huge. But I ended up trying to get a couple of ones of these ones, which, like I said, are all crafting. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. If you're only mainly PvPing and not crafting on that character, just go straight for that one.